Good morning. This is Forest County Outback number 2. And if you had followed my videos on Facebook, you realize this was not the original number 2. I've decided to reshoot the first couple videos because as I was editing them for YouTube, I realized how awful they were, and there was a lot of misinformation. As I've in the 2 years I've been doing this, I've come to a better understanding of these mill sites, and I'm able to interpret them a lot better. And the first couple had a lot of misinformation. So I'm here to correct that and put out a better video. And we are at Braceville. And this was a lumber town on Beaver Run. And it was here, it was on the 1881 map, it was listed, and that's the only one. There was a post office from 1883 to 1895. So probably that's, you know, figure a couple years on either side of it. Although I heard rumors there were people who lived here until the 1940s, but I kind of doubt it. I've looked at aerial photos from the late 30s, and there's no sign of any buildings or that here. But anyhow, this Braceville had 2 sawmills, and they're probably about, I want to say, a quarter mile, maybe a little less apart. So we are at the upper mill, and we're going to walk through it, and I'll show you what's here with the remains and try to explain what was going on, what you know, the setup here was. I've never been able to find photos of this place, but I keep looking. That would help interpret it, but I think I got a pretty good idea of what's going on now. So let's go. Okay, where we're standing now, this is the upper mill, and this was the log pond. And the first time I saw this mill, I was on a backpacking trip with my wife, and the beavers had dammed up that, and this was a beautiful pond. It was about 6 feet deep, crystal clear. You could see the bottom, and we had a Labrador Retriever at that time, and as tired as she was, she just went crazy when she saw this pond and had to drag her away from it. And anyhow, this was the pond, and they used natural lay of the land here as a dam, that place there, and then they had a dam over here, and then the mill site was over that way. So let's walk around here and I'll try to explain things to you. So this is the dam. You see this wooden crib work. That's spike on that log there. And there were logs laying all across that foundation at one time, but a lot of them have washed away. There's one of them over there in the stream. You see how they go back under the bank. So this would have been dirt piled up on here, and then the back side and maybe the front too would have been planked because they were leaky. The dirt was leaky. So and you can see part of the mill down there. You can see how the dam is constructed. And then over there is part of the old beaver pond. Or beaver dam, I mean. Another view of the dam. You can see over here there was a pit excavated here behind us. And then come down to this first stone structure. And if you've been watching my videos, you know what this is. It's a boiler house. Classic. Classic construction here. And over here we've got a squared off timber. And some stones over there in the creek. Now you see you've got this sunken area in here, and it looks like almost like a ditch there. And then there's a flat area over here, continues on down. Then we've got this area here that looks like it was excavated out around here. And I wanted to point out something else over here. There is a iron pin over here. And these, I see it goes through that, there's a timber right there. That pin goes through there. And there's another one up there. This would have been a base for mounting machinery in the mill, for the mill. Most likely sitting here would have been to drive the belts, to drive the mill machinery. So it was probably a two-story building here. Hard to believe. So anyhow, we'll go around here and see there's this large flat area up here. And this excavated area in here. And we have another stone wall. And initially you might think this is another boiler house, but it's, if you look at this, it's not constructed as a boiler house. It's much bigger than most of them were. And if you look how the stones are laid, you look at the construction, it looked like that was a high wall, and stones have fallen over this way and over that way. So I think this was part of the mill structure. And this is actually the first time I've seen this area where it wasn't overgrown. Usually these stone piles in particular are covered with ferns, and you really can't see what's underneath them. And you can tell they're stone structures, but you can't see this kind of detail. So I had heard somewhere that this original mills were water powered, which is quite likely, and then converted to steam. That was pretty common practice. That is much too big to have been a boiler house. And there's the boiler house up there, the dam and the pond beyond it. Oh, and up here there are some other groupings of stones, which I wanted to point out and I forgot. Where are they? Okay, yeah, over in this area. Some of these are. That's a stump, but over there's some stone. Some of those are stone, cut stone. And there's a group of stones right there. So there we go. We've got the dam up there and down, the boiler house, and then, like I said, there's a group of stones. There's some other ones in here. These over here. So you had this area dug out in here, and you had that wall down there. So this would have been a fairly large mill for the time. So we're going to head on down the stream and check out the lower mill, and it was also the town site down there. They were walking down Beaver Run, down towards the lower mill. Beautiful day. Absolutely gorgeous. So we are now in at the lower mill, and this was the town site, and there's the dam over there. This area here would have been the log pond, and there are some remains of buildings up here, up in that area, so we're gonna go take a look at those. So when we first found this place about 35 years ago, this was not nearly as overgrown. You didn't have all these small trees in here. Right up here is a big cellar hole. This would have been a pretty big building. So we got this stone. There's a stone over there. And then we've got this cellar hole, which over that way, looks like they had a spring in their cellar. People used to do that for refrigeration. Again, haven't found any photos of this area, but up through here there's other places. You can see there's stones where buildings were setting on, and then over in that direction there are more that's real overgrown. A lot of hawthorns in there. It's tough to get through, but there were places, there was obviously outhouses and stuff like that all through there. And then the dam and the mill were over that way. All kind of stone through here that buildings were setting up on. This was probably the boarding house, because remember, the mills, people didn't commute, they lived at their work site, so there would have been a sizable community here. Your mill workers, loggers, teamsters. Braceville was unusual in that there was not a railroad at that time. There was not a railroad up here. There was a corduroy road that went about 8 miles down to the river, and you can trace most of that road out. And I would say it was challenging, but it would have employed a large number of people hauling lumber out and supplies in. See up through here, there's more. So here's the dam. We're on top of the dam now. We're on the back side of that dam. This would have been the log pond over here. And then there was the break in the dam, and the mill was over that way. And we'll show you where that was. So there, back in the day, we'd be looking right at the mill right there. So probably there was a wooden section across here, bracket dam, and somebody had speculated that they may have used this to float timber down the creek. Well, the timber, or yeah, lumber down the creek. Okay, and right there, that gap would have been probably wood as the outlet. You'd have had a bracket in there and some kind of gate to let the water through, regulate the level on this side. It's been speculated that they may have used this as a splash dam to float lumber and even logs down the creek. I really doubt that, because the Sanford Holbrook's Yellowhammer mill was about a half mile down here, and so I doubt they'd have been floating like that. That would not make for good neighbors downstream. And then on beyond Holbrook's was Teddy Collins' Beaver Valley mill. So I doubt that they were floating anything down here. So there's an artifact, some kind of hub, and it's really not that surprising that it's still here over 100 years after the place was abandoned. The thing probably weighs about 60, 70 pounds. So your average hiker's not going to walk off with it. So over here was the mill. I don't think that was part of the mill. I'm not even sure that was part of the dam. It's well, those rocks may be. It might have been part of it. Might have had a crib work in here. But then we've got these timbers along here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's a couple more down here. And over here was the boiler house. It's kind of fallen down compared to most of them, but I mean, it's still, you can tell. It's about the right size and location. So the mill would have been on those timbers and down into here. You see these pins driven into the ground here. This actually, when I first saw this mill site about 35 years ago, there was a large square timber here, which you can see has pretty well rotted away. So this would have been for mounting, the timbers would have been for mounting some kind of machinery on it. So over here, you have your timbers in the stream. 1, 2, 3, fourth one here. I think there was another one down here. A lot of times they would build them partially over the stream, because then they would just dump their sawdust and waste products into the stream. Now on down here, there's something else I want to show you. So we've got this wall down here, and the mill is about 40 yards or so up that way. And this actually is how my wife and I found this place the first time. We were cross-country skiing up that, we were up on that hill over there, and we had found the old woods road, corduroy road, that came up to Braceville. Of course, we didn't know that. It was just a old woods road we were skiing, and then we saw this wall through the snow squalls. And I asked a neighbor, older neighbor who was familiar with the area, and he told me about this. What I believe is that this was another mill. And the reason I say that, you see here you got this little offset right here, and this section out here. I think that was a boiler house. And the reason I say that is because, well, I don't do I do metal detecting just to confirm metal. I don't actually do any digging, but I have a pinpointer, and that area over there on top is just setting the metal detector off like crazy. And it's a large area, and what that is indicative of is not necessarily metal, but old fire brick. Stuff that old fire brick that's been subject to a lot of heat, that will set the detector off, and that is like, there's a huge area in there, and it's about the right size for a boiler. And I really can't think of any other explanation for this structure. So that's the theory I'm working on, that this was another sawmill here. And this section over here was the boiler. And this wall here is about 8 feet high. We'll go around the back and take a look at it. It was, and you'll see on the other side some other clues. So it's not a real wide, the wall itself wasn't real wide, but you see this area over here has been, it's flattened up there and disturbed down here. And Braceville was a lumber town, and what else, a structure this size, what else would they be doing here? You see this area down in here, right? It's just in that flat. That's what I think it was. It was a sawmill. So they had 2 mills down here. This is another mystery building. I think it's too big to be a boiler. It's out here away from everything else. You can see this dugout area back here, over here. And this looks like that was part of it. So, what this building was, again, couldn't say. I suppose it could be a boiler. It's, yeah, it'd be a fairly large boiler house, but it could be. And the question is, what would it be operating over here away from everything else? For all the activity that went on here, they pretty much seem to have left no record. And I suppose it could have been a house. But anyway, that is Braceville Redux, and hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy getting out here and doing this. As somebody said to me the other day, who has been watching my videos, and says, well, what a job out there hiking through the woods and streams all day, but somebody's got to do it, so may as well be me. Okay, thanks, and like, subscribe, and hopefully keep on watching. All right, thanks a lot.